Rods, reels, and line have changed in the years that that's gone on, and that's no secret. So a couple things I'll throw out here about that. This is what we throw these days, and I just pulled this out of the rod locker, okay? So this is exactly how this rod would ride around in my rod locker day in and day out and ready for use all the time. I didn't change anything. I didn't rig it for this show. I took it out of the rod locker and I'm holding it right now. A couple of key things that I think will help you out as an angler for a boat. First of all, the rod sock. These are custom made. Ryan Wood made these for me. Thank you, Ryan Wood. You can order them, Sportsman's Warehouse sells them, you can get them all over the place. I have them made short enough to only go to the stripper guide so that I can have my bait down here, and we'll get back to that. These will not only protect your rods from damage, they will also keep them from tangling with each other and for just in general tangle mess when you put a whole bunch of them in your rod locker. Very, very handy, works really well in your pickup truck as well. So they just slide right off real quick, you throw them down and out of the way, and now your rod is exposed and safe. The other thing that's handy is these lure wraps right here. And again, you can buy these at Sportsman's. You can find them all over the internet. They keep the treble hooks from this bait from getting caught in who knows what, your hand, your rod socks, your other rods, whatever. So I put that on the bait, and this particular one's clear so I can see inside of them. You can pop this off of here, take it off of there, and now my bait is exposed and I'm ready to go fishing. When I go to put it back in the locker, I put those two on and my stuff is never tangled up. Now, more importantly, let's talk about my jerkbait rod, because if you're a fan of Fishful Thinker, you know we throw a lot of gold minnows and we throw a lot of jerkbaits. And this is a standard jerkbait setup for me here in 2020. It hasn't really changed fundamentally. It's 6 foot, 8 inch, medium power, extra fast action rod. That extra fast action gives me a very crisp tip. It means that only the very tip of this rod is what's bending, just right in here whenever this rod bends. That means I have very precise control with it. If the rod's a big soft rod bending down here, then it's very boingy and I don't get the real crisp action I want on my jerkbait. It's a jerkbait, not a pull bait. So you want to have a real crisp doop, doop, when you jerk on it. The other thing that's really important to that is the braided line system. So this is 15-pound Berkley X9 braid. This is my standard jerkbait line. This rod reel line is a dedicated jerkbait rod reel line combo for me. 15-pound X9 is very smooth. It's a 9-filament carrier, meaning that it's got a single piece at the center and then 8 more that are braided around it. It has minimal to no measurable stretch on it. It's got excellent castability. It's extremely limp, so it casts very, very well. And it's just a great handling line. It has another advantage in that it's one of the best knot holding braided lines I've ever dealt with. It holds knots fantastic, so when you tie with it, that stuff's on there for the duration. I pair it with the Abu Garcia, the Veracity rod. And why the Veracity specifically? This very distinctive red rod. Why the Veracity and why not the Veritas or the Fantasista or one of the others? The Veracity is one of the strongest blanks they make. And when you're banging a jerkbait and snapping a jerkbait hard, that's when you're doing damage to a rod. When you're jerking on a bait and a fish bites it and you pop it, that's when you can do damage to a rod. So a very strong blank, a blank that is a very durable blank, is gonna help you out a lot. And it's a very responsive yet still lightweight blank. And it all comes down to the resin that they put in there. The other thing about it is it's got a full handle. You notice I've got a lot to grab onto right here. I don't have a full exposed blank because this is a very active presentation, like a tennis racket or a golf club has a dedicated handle. I have lots to hold on to right here. Plenty of room for my 3-finger in front approach that we always advocate when working most baits that I'm gonna work. So I've got a very full handle on here as well. And of course a counterbalance blank so that the tip of the rod feels very light, and that's really important. I pair it with the Revo Rocket. Rocket's got a 7-to-1 gear ratio. It's extremely high retrieve speed of line on this thing, a bomb-proof anti-reverse, and a very strong drag. So the drag is perfect because I can soften it to where it clicks one time each time I pop the jerkbait. So if a fish bites it right then, it's going to give just a tiny bit, yet it's got a very smooth startup inertia and everything else. So it's just a great overall combo. This is what I'm throwing these days. This is my most modern setup for throwing jerkbaits everywhere we go. It could be a Cutter 90, it could be the Cutter 110, or any of the other jerkbaits that we're going to throw. Last part of the system is the Trilene 100% fluorocarbon leader. You can see I've got a leader knot that's right here. I've got a leader, typically it's going to be somewhere between 12 inches and 2 feet long at the most. I join it with back-to-back uni knots, and then you put your jerkbait on from there. So if I was gonna go to Stalker Lake and do the same thing we did years ago, today, I would take this rod reel line and leader combo, I would put this little shallow cutter on it, and I would go to town, and I guarantee you we'd catch the same bass using the same techniques.